experimental medical parasite is let loose in the self-contained luxury apartment block Starliner Towers, and rapidly begins spreading through the tower's population. It was designed as a radical method of organ replacement, however, has another, far more perilous property, inciting in the host a sexual mania, which causes aberrant and violent sexual behaviour, in so doing allowing the parasite to reproduce and spread to further victims. As more and more of the tower's populace become hosts to the parasite, turning into rampant zombies, it falls to the resident physician Dr. St. Luke and love interest Nurse Forsyth to discover the truth and contain the infestation. Shivers, aka The Parasite Murders, aka Orgy of the Blood Parasites, aka They Came From Within. Many of this film's assortment of titles suggest its B-movie exploitation tone, as well as effectively synopsizing its ideas and themes. Stars include horror icon Barbara Steele and Lynn Lowry, who was also in George Romero's The Crazies, to which this film, along with Cronenberg's follow-up feature Rabid, makes at least a passing nod. With staples such as splatter, lesbians, slimy creature effects, this film makes no pretense that it's not a cheapo sleazefest, but that said, it does still aspire to more than mere titillation, despite the surface layer of casual gore and nudity. Cronenberg made his name with this kind of movie, cheap exploitation flicks that disguise a more weighty consideration of the physical and psychological human condition, normally by exposing it to disease or mutation in the manner of a mad scientist. Here we have the disease being a parasite, which not only invades the flesh, but actually alters the behaviour of the host. Cronenberg's fascination with nature at its most insidious is in evidence, as there are certainly precedents. Examples such as a hairworm that causes grasshoppers to plunge into water and die, allowing the parasite to reproduce in the water. Or a toxoplasmosis, which gives rats a suicidal attraction to cat pheromones. In Shivers, the parasite results in the acting out of a normally repressed or verboten sexuality, a quintessentially Cronenberg-esque concept, the aphrodisiac venereal disease. And he certainly has an eye for the grotesque, a creature whose appearance is somewhere between fecal and phallic. He is a director who has no problem with shocking or disgusting his audience, watching in unflinching detail, although disgust is always balanced with biological fascination. The only restraint he seems to be showing here is budgetary, almost like the disease, which cares nothing for society barriers or taboos. Cronenberg makes no apologies or concessions to delicate sensibilities. Age and sexual orientation become irrelevant. The geriatric are as rampant as the young. Even incest and paedophilia, all barriers are stripped away. But Cronenberg isn't just out to shock, and he uses the scenario to muse upon an omnisexuality, which comes across as a deliberate contradiction to the mass media reinforced idea that only the young and attractive are sexual.
In this dream, I found myself making love to a strange man. Only I'm having trouble, you see, because he's old and dying. And he smells bad, and I find him repulsive. But then he tells me that everything is erotic, that everything is sexual. You know what I mean? He tells me that even old flesh is erotic flesh. That disease is the love of two alien kinds of creatures for each other. That even dying is an act of eroticism. That talking is sexual. That breathing is sexual. That even to physically exist is sexual. And I believe him.
The disease doesn't prejudice, and nor does Cronenberg. But what's most subversive about this film is the fact that, despite the horror on show, Shivers actually retains a sense of ambiguity about where our sympathies should lie. The opening narrative is the setup of the location, an insincere hard-sell spiel for Starliner Towers, where the majority of the film takes place, even likening it to a cruise liner, highlighting its artificial, self-contained nature. This is a sterile environment, an attempt to manufacture a community rather than let it evolve organically, a corporate ideal home, pre-packaged. Throughout the film we get repeated shots of dull corridors in washed-out colour schemes. The tower is a breeding ground for an already present psychosis. The parasite doesn't create it, It just releases it.
Yes, it's true. Day-to-day living becomes a luxury cruise when you've made your home at Starliner Tower Apartments. Explore our island paradise, secure in the knowledge that it belongs to you and your fellow passengers alone. Cruise the seasons, the sun, and the stars without ever leaving the great ship Starliner. It's all here. A restaurant complete with takeout service, a variety store, delicatessen, boutique, drugstore, dry cleaning service. They're here to serve you.
Like something from a J.G. Ballard novel, the dull, repressive existence of the middle-class, high-rise generation. And just in case we don't get the point, the film immediately cuts to one of the apartments, in which a shockingly vicious murder-suicide is taking place, including impromptu surgery and acid antiseptic. Characters such as bored everyman Nick, who is cheating on his wife by sleeping with Annabelle, the nymphet typhoid Mary of the story, sleepwalk through their lethargic lives. Dr. St. Luke, the closest thing this film has to a hero, shows no apparent interest in his nurse, even when she strips in front of him. His failure to reciprocate her passions epitomizes everything that is already wrong in Starliner Towers. It's also worth noting that the most savage acts of violence in the film are committed by the uninfected hero, as well as the murder-suicide opening, whereas all the infected want to do is have rampant sex, and thereby spread the parasite. There is an element of rapturous joy in the wanton abandon enjoyed by the infected. When Dr. St. Luke finally succumbs, it is wholly appropriate that it's his partner that delivers the final parasitic kiss, the swimming pool turning the scene into something resembling a baptism. And once the infected have completely overwhelmed the tower, they exit in order to spread to the outside world, in much the same way as the parasite first overwhelms the body before exiting to spread to another host. It's a neat parallel that highlights the continuation and escalation of the parasitic epidemic. The narrative of Shivers does feel somewhat fractured. Rather than tell a single story, we are shown glimpses of several scenarios unfolding simultaneously, depicting the escalation and spread of the parasites. This has the effect of reducing our concern or empathy for any specific characters, although this could of course be intentional. It's as though we're stealing glances at their lives, observing the ugly truths behind the respectable veneer. Given a highly restrictive budget, Shivers is inevitably a little rough around the edges, but it's still rife with ideas and themes that Cronenberg will continue to build upon and explore in relentless detail. It's also interesting to note that this film caused accusations of misogyny to be thrown at Cronenberg for his depiction of women as passive and victimized. His follow-up film, Rabid, would go on to incite accusations of misogyny through his depiction of women as aggressive and predatory. Damned if you do, damned if you don't.